The Pit Press Podcast.
Reinholz launches from downtown. No. Van Horn, no. And that's it. New Mexico wins it.
Kenny Thomas blocks. Gibson hustling down. He has some room. And he gets it.
Oh, long three. He got it. Oh, my goodness. Kendall Williams from 35 feet. For the win. Snell. Got it. He got it. Wow. With 1.8 seconds remaining.
And New Mexico's going to dribble out the clock. The Lobos three-peat as conference tournament champions. Kendall Williams fires the ball into the air, but New Mexico wins it this afternoon 64-58 over San Diego State, and the Lobos claim the Mountain West Conference's automatic bid into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, 5.3. Normally you get about a dribble a second, and Donovan is about as good as it gets to the rim. So Mash was staring me down. He was mad at me. I was ignoring him. I wanted to space the court, and I wanted Isaac to play behind the defense and Donovan get to the rim. And he's a great layup maker. You know, he's just really, really good at it. So fortunately, it worked in that one. Sometimes it doesn't.
That was Robert Portnoy and Hunter Green on the Call for Lobo Radio Network. I thought I called him Dave Portnoy for a second. Anyway, hey, my name's Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Podcast. UNM escapes Thursday night with a 82-80 win over kind of a pesky UT Arlington team. I think it was a lot closer for a lot of other people, the Lobo Nation especially. If you had money on the game, definitely was not a good bet unless you had UT Arlington because they covered. I don't think they covered the first half. But anyway, I digress, and we'll get into that game. Hey, my name's Ryan Tamori. I think I mentioned that. As always, I'm joined by the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs, and he's down in Silver City right now, a Lobo fan since 1970. His name is Mr. Ed Nunez. And Ed, I'm distracted by the Jonas Brothers on College Game Day. Ed, how are you?
They will distract anybody. I'm doing great, Ryan.
Yeah, because nothing screams 30 years like the Jonas Brothers on ESPN. 30 years of College Game Day. And as always, my business partner in this media endeavor, I use endeavor a lot. Hey, it's Erik Malton. Erik, how are you?
Guys, good morning. I'm good. We're upon feast week. Lots of college basketball going on. It's exciting, man. And this is kind of when we get into the meat and potatoes of basketball season. So let's get going.
Yeah, feast week is legit. Money to be won, money to be lost. A lot of good there's a lot of good basketball games, especially Monday in the Maui Invitational. Obviously, they had to play that in Honolulu now because of the devastating fires in Hawaii. But it's like Purdue, Gonzaga. I don't know. It's a lineup and a half. I think Kansas is there. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up, but they've been showing it. Yeah, there's a lot of good college basketball. Wyoming looked tough. That kind of scares me. San Diego State beat St. Mary's last night. I don't have the final score, but it was by like 18 or 17, 18 or 19.
Obliterated St. Mary's.
Yeah,
in the second half. Yep.
St. Mary's no longer ranked. Those two teams got kicked out of the top 25, and for good cause. They both lost. We'll get that down the stretch. Obviously, our focal point here is the UT Arlington win, 82-80. And at the half, this was a Lobo team that was up, as I look in my game notes, that was up 12. I don't know what the hell happened in the second half. I'll give, you guys are the X's and O guys. Our friend Rick Thompson played for Damian Segura at St. Pius. Two-time offensive line, all-state offensive lineman. He could not join us this morning. We're going to get him more incorporated in this because you guys are three basketball studs that all played high school basketball. And Erik, you're a state champion. I'm just the gambling nerd and the history guy. So I'm going to not pretend I know, and I don't ever pretend to know what the X's and O's of basketball are. I love watching college basketball. I don't know expletive about coaching it. I always thought that it was take the open shot. Obviously, I know that's not the case. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'll give my thoughts. They look like they don't care. They look like they don't. Nelly Jr. Joseph, Mustafa Amzil look very out of place. Nelly Jr. Joseph looks disinterested. He looks like he could care less to be there. That might not be the case. It's my opinion. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Yeah, you're up 12 at the half and you give that up. No Jalen House, obviously that was a big deal. I'm 50-50 on it. There's part of me that thinks, hey, maybe this team is better without him. That's sort of probably proving me wrong. They need him. I will be in Vegas for this Ball Dogs Classic. They get a Toledo team that I believe won the MAC regular season championship last year. It got ousted by Kent State in the MAC tournament. MAC's a one-bid league. Have to do a little bit more research on them, but if you're defending regular season champs, hey, I the first half kind of went, and I'm looking at UT Arlington, who's in the WAC, and very animated. And then somebody got a technical. Shamir Wilson, one of their forwards, got a technical and still played another minute. So, hey, great officiating, whoever those refs were. Frank Mercagliano, the SID, was talking about it after the game. Anyway, I'm all over the place. Yeah. Thought they looked disinterested. At least Nelly Jr. Joseph looked disinterested. We're going to get into that more. And you guys both got up a great point in, a group. Everybody's got a group text in that what we have. And you know what, Ed, I'll start with you there. Not really physical. Let's go there. Your thoughts on that? I think that was a text that you sent us.
I think one of the things that Jeff Grammer wrote about in the Journal was that when Nelly went out with foul trouble in the second half, that UTI attacked the paint, and they did. Toppin is an athletic jumper. He can jump. There's no question about it. He's a physical presence around the basket, more athletic presence, but not a physical one. And what I mean by that is a guy that can hold their position, carve out space. They don't have that. And so UTI attacked the middle, and they attacked it well. So Hunter Green said this. He said, we don't have a post backup, and we really don't. Sebastian Forsling is not ready. He's not going to play very much. That's obvious. He wasn't in a game where they got out rebounded. You would think they would put a 7-footer in. He didn't play. That's telling to me, should be telling to everybody. So I think that's what Nelly, when they throw the ball into him, when they do, he's not a block guy, big block guy. Give me a target. He doesn't have an array of post moves. And they don't, and Erik will bring it up later that, there's a chance that they have to throw it into him and they kind of look away. Mashburn instead chose to jack up another jumper, and he's going to be a scorer and try to score. But inside, that's what I'm talking about. Carving out the space, the Joe Furtstinger, the Josiah Alec, even the Mo Daisy. You could give it to him inside. He's a bull. And he doesn't have a great post moves, but we saw last year you could bank on 8 to 10 points from the post. And that's where New Mexico is going to struggle. Disinterested with Nelly, I wouldn't say disinterested. I would say confused, doesn't know his role. You got 11,000 screaming fans there. If you're disinterested there with me as a player, I coach too, my thing is sit down over here. You don't belong out there. So I think it's more confusion that he doesn't know his role yet. Mustafa Amzil, we mentioned, is 6'7", but I watched, and Ryan, you and I had a running dialogue all game. If you pick him, if you touch him with any contact, he shirks from it. He might get you 4 rebounds a game. Hunter Green alluded to this, but he's not a second jump guy, and he doesn't like that contact in there. So that's what I mean by physicality. They lack that. They lack that toughness inside. Toppin is going to be very special, but he's not a physical big. He's more of an athletic big.
I'm going to wrap this back around to you, Ed, but I'll go to Erik now. Number one, your thoughts on if they're not physical or their physicality. And number two, feels like I say a lot of negative things. I'm very hard criticism, or maybe I'm just making that up. You guys, Erik, you can tell me that. I would say growing up in Albuquerque and watching Lobo basketball and watching Lobo football, which right now things are not good at all. Despite having a 2-1 record, these expectations are through the roof. Jamal, I love Jamal Mashburn. I think he's a fantastic player, and he's probably up there as one of my favorite Lobo basketball players of all time, at least in my lifetime. I was thinking about it the other night. Ruben Douglas, when he led the nation in scoring, he was great. I'm an acquaintance with Ramon Martinez. He's a great guy. He's up there. Darrington's up there. DeReese, and Ed, as I always mention, no disrespect, just guys in my lifetime. I think Michael Cooper, I didn't have the pleasure of watching him play. He's up there. With that said, Jamal Mashburn Jr. is one of my favorite players. I think that we all agree. You guys more probably, what's the word? I'm inept in the X's and O's, as I always say. He's forcing a lot of shots. So number one, Erik, with you, thoughts on their physicality, and number two, and Ed, you kind of mentioned this, the offense hasn't found any rhythm other than maybe Texas Southern, and it looked like that in that game, the defense generated a good offense. It's kind of mostly Dent taking it to the rim or Mash forcing a mid-range jump. Not much fluidity, not many assists and ball movement. I can see that as, not the basketball guru. So Erik, your thoughts on that?
There's no toughness. I don't think, not yet anyways. Especially not around the rim. Man, that UT Arlington team.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but before I just looked it up, you said there's no toughness. And Ed, what do I always say? And I know it's cliche and I lose it a lot. It's all the expectations with this season. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and they got punched in the mouth.
Yeah, well, I think UT Arlington was the more physical team, and they weren't going to back down from it. And that reflects definitely the rebounding portion of it, right? UT Arlington finished with 43 rebounds, 14 of them being on the offensive side. That's 14 different second chance opportunities to score the basket, and that's what kept the game close. But they out-rebounded the Lobos 43-30 on the game, and that is unacceptable, especially with the length that the Lobos had over UT Arlington, right? Toppin, Mustafa Mzil, you just mentioned it, Ed, being at 6'7". They got some lengthy guys. They're just not boxing out. They're not flooding to the rim. They're not being the tougher team. I don't know if some of these guys are kind of shying away from the contact, but it's just not there. And we haven't seen it. Coach Moser, who's been on this podcast before, says that this team on paper looks really good, but he's got to see it first. And so far, I don't think anyone has seen it, especially on the toughness and the physicality side.
One of the things that we'll touch on, and Ed, I'll wrap this back to you. Again, I'm a big Jamal Mashburn guy. You guys are the basketball guys I'm repeating myself, criticizing. But Ed, you have said it many times that a lot of me shots for Jamal Mashburn Jr., getting a lot of my shots. Those are mine. Those are my shots. He went 19 of 23. He did have 29 points. So he did get his. But how do you feel? And you mentioned no fluidity, but how does UNM change that and get more people involved, I guess, offensively?
It was actually 9. Yeah.
9
it was
23.
9 of 23. What 9 of 23? One of the things, and I think Erik knows this. Erik, you played on a championship team. That guy's hot. In your case, Erik, when you played with Mike Dominguez, it's get Mike the ball. We understand that as a staff. We're going to say that Jamal Mashburn is going to get. And the thing is, look, we can't change who he is. Mid-range mash, 1 pound on the floor, rise. He struggled a little bit again, though. They put size on him, and he struggled a little bit getting those shots off. He's going to score. I don't have an issue with that. But sometimes I did say to you, I could tell. There's no. He just comes down. They're running the offense, and he just shoots the first shot he sees. Now, most of the time that will work out for you. But the other argument might be made on the floor. If you're him, he's gonna say to himself, me and Donovan are going to get who's going to score, who's creating their own shot out here. Toppin can get a catch inside and maybe on the wing, and he's not going to shoot a lot of threes. He can shoot. True Washington comes in, he's still finding his way. Mustafa Amzil, you got to look at it from Amzil's point of view too. He can shoot, but he's getting touches every 5 times down the floor, and then when he does, he shoots and he misses, and they don't give it to him for another 5 times. As an offensive player, I need some rhythm too. But maybe now, look, I hate to say this, but maybe Josiah Alex said, hey, look, I know I'm not going to touch the ball any more than I'm going to, and he's not going to be the focus of any offense. Maybe he said, look, I don't want to play in that kind of system. Now, when House comes back, it's going to be, you got 3 guards that can create. That's good. 3 good shot creators. You need some wing. Erik will tell you this. You know that, Erik. I got to have some guys popping from the wing in today's game. I need some stretch threes. Mustafa Amzil was brought in to be that. And right now, he looks so confused and totally out of sorts. But again, these games and practices, they mentioned that the other day. They haven't practiced together enough, and that's true. And maybe playing and practicing, and guys will start finding their role. But back to your point, Ryan, when you have a guard like Jamal Mashburn, he's going to give you some points. And in a game like that, they needed some points. So I can't argue about every shot he took, but some of those shots were definitely, I got to get my shots. Believe me, I know. I've been around the game a long time. So that you're going to have to live with that. And again, when New Mexico needs scoring right now, it's Dent and Mashburn that are providing it. So I guess there's a flip. You flip the pancake either way, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
Well, you mentioned Ryan on the fluidity part, or not being much fluidity in the offense, and it's what I meant by that is there's no ball movement. If you look at, I'm a stats guy, right? I'm looking at shot attempts. I'm looking at percentage of makes and getting good looks, but the ball movement wasn't there either. A lot of the shots that Dent took, that Mashburn took, were off dribble penetration, dribble pull up. Not many assists, not much ball movement, passing, kicking the ball down low. Mashburn 23 shot attempts, Dent had 18 shot attempts. A lot of that's from the mid-range area, right? Like a lot of the time the ball is in their hands. So I'm okay with my guards shooting the ball a lot. But when Nelly has 2 shot attempts, Mustafa Amzil, who's historically a good 3-point shooter, had 4 shot attempts. The third person that had the most shot attempts was Toppin at 11. I mean, the Lobos are just settling, right? Mashburn's settling, 23 shot attempts. Dent had 18. I think Dent was probably a little bit more effective because he was taking the ball to the hoop a lot. But we just can't settle back. I mean, you just can't settle and take those jumpers, especially when I want to show you guys a clip that I pulled up, and which kind of hits on Ed's point, but my point a little bit too with some of these opportunities. Like Mashburn had a lot of shot attempts, and I don't mind him shooting the ball because he's going to make the most. But if you look at this clip here, Nelly has the guy sealed with a wide open basket. Throw the ball over, give him a lob. That might turn into a dunk or easy layup. But then again, we settled for the jump shot. Like we can't do that. And it's just kind of saying the point. Like you got to move the ball around to be successful in the offense. You got to get easy looks. You got to get higher percentage looks at the basket, the layups, the dunks. Nelly has the capability of doing it, but when you get 2 shot attempts per game, it's just not going to cut it.
One quick point, if I could. Jamal Baker, we haven't mentioned him. What did he get, Erik? 4 shots on Thursday. What did he get? Okay.
Baker,
the other thing is, if you're Nelly and Erik, you've played, man, you know it. I played, a lot of post game. If I don't get the ball and I got my guy sealed, it's like, man, it's frustrating, right? So that's what I mean. I don't think Nelly doesn't care. It's like he doesn't know his role, and then a couple times down the floor, I'm open. You're not giving me the ball. Big man, you can ask Shaquille O'Neal, any big man that doesn't get the ball, they want the ball. If they've got their man sealed, I went and worked it for position. That's the pass we need, and you didn't get it. It's frustrating. So just 2 quick points there.
The offense is still being installed right now. He hasn't had many chances to. I don't even know if he knows the whole playbook. He knows all the offensive sets, but they do have him setting a lot of screens. Right, it's a lot of ball handoffs, roll to the basket. There's not much pick and pop because he doesn't have that jump shot in his skill set. But I'm not okay. I mean, with how good he could be down low, with him getting just 2 shot attempts the entire game, I don't think we're maximizing his ability. They're using him as a screener essentially, and that's it.
That's a good point. Good point.
You mentioned Amzil, and I'm not here to correct you this time. I think it's just more, I don't want to read off stats, but the 2 transfers, Nelly Jr. Joseph, the 2 bigs, Nelly Jr. Joseph and Amzil, were 1 of 4 combined. Nelly Jr. Joseph he had 5 points. He got 3 of those from the free throw line. Your three big transfers in Isaac Mushila, Nelly Jr. Joseph, mind you, two of them were in the NCAA tournament last year. I don't know if that, I keep saying that, I don't know if it matters anymore. And Isaac Mushila, Mustafa Amzil, and Nelly Jr. Joseph combined for 1 for 6 and a whopping 8 points. 8 points. I don't know if we've mentioned it. It seems like it's the in-house guys, Donovan Dent, the freshman, I keep wanting to call him Obi Toppin, JT Toppin, and True Washington. Quentin Webb kind of had a quiet game, 0 for 1. He got 4 minutes. We didn't even see Forsling. That's a whole other topic for discussion. I don't know. That's very telling right now to me with what the transfers are doing. Because that's not a whole heck of a lot. And it seems, I know it's 3 games. It's an incredibly small sample size. It's going to be talking down we're sitting here on January 1st, 2024. That's a bigger deal because we would now be in conference play. But those numbers for these guys with this expectations, not just locally. When I was watching CBS Sports last night, you had John Rothstein and then John Fan over at Fox Sports in the field of 68. These transfers thus far, 120 minutes into the season are not living up to expectations. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what it is. I'm not here to bash. I like Pitino. I like Mash. Like I said, I'm not trying to backtrack. It's just like on paper. What did Moser say? I think, you had mentioned it. What, I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. I'm from the show me state. I haven't been all that impressed, and I haven't been all that, what I say Thursday is you let a run of the mill whack team, although they did have size, come back and fight towards the end of the game. I mean, that game should have been over with 10 minutes left. That's horrendous, and that shouldn't happen. Now, I know Pitino said they had a lot of things to fix.
Rebounding and second chance points.
That's the one thing why my bracket was so good. God, I sound like a cocky a-hole. But when you watch college basketball and you go to the, why I came in second is who rebounds. You get that, and you have won money for that. But it's like, I always look at that now. Who rebounds? The one thing I do want to give props to, and I'll let you guys know, I'll let you take this afterwards. And Pitino had mentioned it in the clip I played. I didn't even mention him. You throw Jamal Baker Jr. in there, and he went 0 for 4 and 0 for 3 from 3-point line. He had 3 total points. He missed a free throw, but he had a big block at the end of the game on, who was it? Defensive rebound on all these names I can't remember. DeJuan Gordon of UT Arlington. That essentially would have tied the game at 79-79. He had a big block. He went down and hit a free throw. Although UT Arlington tied it before the Dent runner, the Dent coast to coast layup. I keep calling it a runner. It wasn't a runner. I think got Allen Houston on the mind against the Heat, 1999. That was a big block. And I know that he offensively didn't have a good game, but I think that's some of where I was happy to see that in crunch time. And Erik, I'll throw this over to you. To me, that's a big block by a veteran player who's been on big, he's a Kentucky, Arizona transfer. He's played in the Mountain West with Fresno State. To me, that's a big time play, regardless of what the stat sheet says, by a veteran player who knew where he had to be, knowing where he had to be when he had to be there.
Yeah, well, you remove the Dent play, buzzer beater, right? That was probably the play of the game. Another topic I want to talk about really with just kind of before that play even happened was the missed free throw, because the Lobos missed a lot of free throws that game, which would have put the game out of reach, I think, if they would have been a little bit more effective there. But yeah, that's a big time play from one of your leaders on the team. I wouldn't expect anything less from Baker in that type of situation. And big time players, leaders usually make that kind of play. And I'm not backing down from that. I think that was probably the play of the game, minus the one that's getting all the publicity in Dent's final layup.
I agree with you, because I'm a defensive minded guy. You don't score, I win. So that's my saying. That probably was the play of the game. I look at that more in the scheme of things. And Pitino stressed that in post game how incredible of a player was, and yeah, regardless of how he shot,
Well,
yeah, it was. I don't know. That's the play of the game. I agree with you there, and we don't agree a lot.
the
on
o- the offense is going to come with Baker. Baker historically is a legitimate scorer. So just based off of his experience and some of the stats that they've all translated to wherever he's played, right? At Arizona, he averaged 12 points a game. Fresno State, in the 2 years he was there, averaged 12 points a game for the whole season. He didn't score in this game, but he only had 4 shot attempts. He played 30 minutes. How do you play 30 minutes and only get 4 shot attempts with an elite type scorer like that? To me, that is just reflective of the overall offense and how many touches some of these guys on the perimeter are getting. The ball's not moving it around as much as Patino probably wants it to. A lot of it's dribble, pull up, dribble, drive, not looking a lot down low. Nelly getting 2 looks. Toppin did get a few looks, but he also got a lot of putback looks too. So I think once they start to develop more of this offensive chemistry, and Ryan, you touched on the chemistry a lot in the last few podcasts, them not kind of being up to par yet with that. I think that's going to come just with the familiarity with playing with each other. But for Baker, I'm not okay with only giving him 4 shot attempts. Like, he's got to get at least 10.
It feels like there is so much scoring to go around, and it's so little time. Ed, I'm going to throw this at you because every podcast we talk about basketball. They went 18 of 26 from the line. UT Arlington went 15 of 20. That doesn't bother me a whole heck of a lot. Obviously, you hit a few more free throws. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. I bought that Barstool hat. I'm not plugging Barstool. I just loved it. It said make your free throws, and I wore that at the game because it's true. It's make your free throws. Ed, I'm just going to read the stats and your reaction. I'm not going to even pose a question to you because I know what you're going to say. UT Arlington. Okay, we'll start here. UNM had 11 turnovers as opposed to UTA 7. No, can't do that. Points in the paint for UTA, 48. Second chance points, 22. Bench points, 27. Your reaction to that?
Well, there it is. I think that's one of the things that Erik alluded to. Bench points, Toppin and Washington. Washington, you can tell, Washington and Toppin and Dent are going to be special talents. I want to talk more about Donovan Dent here in a second, but think about those the bench points. We didn't get a whole bunch from the bench. Only 2 scorers really in Dent and Mashburn, and we mentioned the lack of scoring by other guys that we thought would come here and score. But I got to say one thing, real quick about Baker. As a shooter, I know when it releases my hand and if the shot's on the rim, I know that I'm not too far off. And so I thought a couple of Baker shots went long, were on the rim. They weren't bricks. So he just needs more opportunities. And 4 shots isn't going to cut it. And Erik, you're right. His scoring has traveled well. It's traveled. Mushila, remember, averaged he's not going to get a lot of looks, though. He got 1 shot. I believe I remember he shot a 3. He's not going to get a lot of inside looks. He's not going to be an option. The problem with 3 scoring guards and when House comes back is it's like that's 1, 2, and 3, and everybody else, how many shots a game is there for everyone else? So to your point, Ryan, just the points off the bench and the free throw shooting is something that and Erik, you alluded to the rebounding. I thought it was 45-36 that UCI Arlington out-rebounded them. Maybe I thought they out-rebounded them by 9 to end the game, but I think the second chance points are concerning. There's so many concerning things right now, but I think Coach Patino said we just need to work together and practice more. This tournament in 3 games in 4 days is going to be another test if House does play, because that's a lot of action in a short period of time. Is his hip going to be able to withstand that? We'll see if that injury is maybe more serious than they're letting on. We'll see. I hope not, but we'll see.
This is a roster with Jalen House in the lineup that has 5 players that average over 10 points a game. And Amzil at Dayton, which is Dayton team beat St. John, beat Patino yesterday, St. John's. And gosh, that coach, I can see his face. I can't think of the name of it. I mean, he was coach of the year when COVID hit. That Dayton team with the Obi Toppin. Do you have 5 players that average over 10 points a game? And Amzil averaged 9.3 last year. Now, like I mentioned, it just becomes too little time for so many points. Erik, I don't know if you were going to react to Ed there, though. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna basically double down on what he said. It's all about opportunities, and being a shooter like Amzil and Baker are, in order to get kind of that feel, right? Like just being in the pace of the game and getting looks and feeling comfortable within your own shot, you got to get shot attempts up. You got to get that rhythm and feeling down. And if you're not getting any looks, like I don't know how anyone can kind of fall into that rhythm and feel good about their shot going in if you're not getting any looks. Amzil probably did average that last year. I don't know exactly what his stat was last year on his overall average, but he probably got up a lot more shot opportunities too. I don't know what he got this last game. Was it just 4 shot attempts?
No,
3
2.
shot attempts?
2.
That's a whole nother topic.
You cut that in half. I was really high on him again, very early. I don't know. He's averaged 3 points and he's averaged 3 points, 2.3 rebounds, and his field goal percentage in 3 games is 25%.
But you got to look at how these guys fit together too, though. Amzil to me is not. He's 6'7", but he's not going to play in the inside. Ed mentioned that earlier he was backing down from some of the contact, some of the physicality. That's just not his game. That's not what he feels comfortable with. He wants to be on the outside. He wants to be in the 3-man weave, dribble, drive, run some action up top, and shoot it from the 3-point line. He might have gotten 1 look from the 3-point line in this last UT Arlington game. Didn't go in, first look. He probably wants another one. But when you have Mashburn putting up 29 or 26 shots, you have Dent putting up 18, you put House in the mix, who wants to get his shots up as well. Like, where does that leave Amzil and Baker as far as overall opportunities go? So that kind of brings me back to my point I made from earlier, is they got to be better about distributing the ball, finding better shots coming from within the offense, and not just forcing up a dribble drive or letting Mashburn get his. They're not going to be successful that way. They got to move the ball. They like to get out and run, share it, get the ball inside, let Nelly get his, let Toppin get his. Toppin looked good when he got the ball in the post. He's a tough guard down there, but he also didn't get many opportunities down low.
I don't know, Ed, if you were going to say something about that, all those guys getting
You know what?
down low.
I tell you, no, Erik's absolutely right. Erik knows the game very well. But I got to tell you, I just sense a little rivalry brewing. And look, rivalries happen on teams, Erik. You know they do, man. Between Mashburn and Dent. In other words, they play off each other well. Donovan Dent, we got to give credit on that last play. They never turned him. The defense, he just went right at the defense. They didn't turn him. He went right to the basket, split two defenders, and scored. Very athletic play at the end. Now, I just want to say something about Donovan Dent real quick. He's going to be very, very special. I've watched a lot of Lobo point guards come through here. Petey Gibson, Phil Smith, Kelvin Scarborough, Doris Gary, Daryl McGee. We've seen some great point guards here. He could be in that crowd. He could definitely be. It's early. I know it's early. This kid's got the athleticism. He's got the grit. He's got the moxie. He's not afraid of a lot of situations. But just watching the game and seeing Patino said this, Coach Patino said this in the press conference that Mashburn was staring him down. And somebody said that Mash was kind of standing off to the side while everybody's elated afterward. There's a little rivalry brewing there. Let me just tell you that. And I know that he's happy that they won, but Mash wants to be the guy. I know things like that, man. I've seen the game for a long time. And when House comes in, he's going to want his too. Now, they played Mash and House played off each other very well last year. I didn't sense any rivalry there. But I got to just kind of wonder in the back of my mind, is there some maybe little jealousies creeping in? I hope not, because Donovan Dent is going to be very special. Very special. And, I think one of the things that Patino meant, he's a great layup maker. And Erik, splitting defenders like that and going through contact, it's different. And, a good layup makers, people are like, well, you should make your layups. And sometimes it's not easy going through contact, through length. And this kid is going to be a very special player. But I kind of wonder if there's a little bit of rivalry kind of brewing there. And I hope not. I've seen that destroy teams. So we'll see what happens.
Well, one thing you 100% agree with you, Ed, on Dent's game, right? Elite layup maker, plays through contact. He's going to start drawing a lot of defenders, a lot of double teams. Guys are going to start crashing the paint to take that part away from him. But another piece of Dent's game is he's also an elite passer. So I'd like to see his game kind of evolve with drawing some of that attention away, becoming that elite passer, dumping the ball off low to Nelly, giving Toppin some opportunities, and kicking out to House and Mashburn and letting them kind of find more shots from within the offense versus having them having to create their own shot. Because right now I feel like Mashburn is feeling like he's having to create his own offense, create his own shot versus having it kind of develop from within the offense and the rhythm. Guys are still trying to find their roles within the offense. So I'd like to see where this offense is going to go and evolve from.
Sound like you said rhythm.
Rhythm.
No, I got you there. I'm going to throw something out to you guys, and then Jeff Grammer in today's Albuquerque Journal. Hey, I'm a 36-year-old who still buys the paper. Yeah, Saturday, November 28th. The headline, I haven't read it yet, is the final play curse finally over for the Lobos. This wasn't San Diego State. Just like I've been saying about Nelly Jr. Joseph. This isn't the MEAC. This isn't San Diego State. This isn't Nevada. This was UT Arlington. So I mean, I don't expect anything less. I think they're a more talented team, and Donovan Dent on the final play showed that. What I was going to say to you guys before we move on, this team essentially has like two starting lineups. I don't know if you agree or disagree with me, but I mean, you have House, Dent, Amzil, Nelly, and then you can interject, Dent or Baker Jr. You get like lineup one. You get lineup A, which is like Baker, House, Mashburn, Amzil, Jr. Joseph, and then you have like Dent, Mushila, maybe Webb, and then the two freshmen. Am I crazy?
No, not crazy. They've got the talent. They just got to find out which groups play well together, which are going to be the most effective, who shares the ball the best. Doesn't matter. These guys got to buy into more of a team buy-in, right? Like Patino's probably trying to instill that, but remove it from a me to a we approach. And they have the guys to kind of intertwine to make it happen. They got the talent out there. It's about putting it together, going towards like an equal shared goal. But yeah, agree with you there. They do probably have a lot of talent enough to finish or complete two starting lineups. Sure.
They do, but I got to say this, that I don't know. Dent has played so darn well. Can you put that guy on the bench, man? No. I don't know that you can. He's played so well that I, and the other thing is this, and Erik, I keep asking you this because you've been on a championship team. When you win championships, you got to get the breaks. You got to have a bounce here, a call there. Things have to go right. I think you'd probably agree. And you played on a darn good Capital team. There's no doubt. But when Eagles start coming in, and remember the NIL thing too, which is great for New Mexico. It's great. But then all of a sudden, and it's not the Patino problem. He doesn't pay out those salaries. But then somebody starts saying, well, that guy's making this. How come I'm not making that? I don't know. Hopefully that's not a problem. I don't see that as a problem yet. But when you have alpha males, and Mash is an alpha male, so is Jalen House. They're going to want their share, man. That's just the way it is. And so you kind of have to taper that back a little bit for the good of the team. And I think probably I don't know that that's going to be a problem going forward. Mash is going to get his. Mash is mid-range Mash. One dribble, bam, he's going to hit his. We know that. But somewhere along the way, someone's going to have to say, I got to give up a little bit of me to see what we can do. And believe me, as a player, I've been around the game. It's tough for some guys to say, I got to step aside and, for the good of the team. It's tough for some dudes to do that. That's just the honest to God's truth. So let's hope that, they see it as like Erik, you mentioned it, as a we goal and not a me goal. And that's what any good teams do.
Thanks.
Championship teams do that.
Right.
Thanks, Jim Harbaugh. It's not an offense. It's not a defense. It's a defense.
Right.
I didn't realize this, that I'm very disappointed going ahead to this Ball Dogs Classic in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Henderson at the Dollar Loan Center, which is one of the most confusing names in the history of arenas. It's the name of the place is the Dollar Loan Center, and the arena is called the Dollar Loan Center. So go expletive figure. I didn't realize that Indiana State was there. I'm a little upset about that. Toledo plays Indiana State on Black Friday. I will be there for the first two games. I will be there for Holy Toledo and Rice.
Oh, Toledo.
And Pepperdine. Again, I mentioned it. Toledo is coming off a first place finish. They won the MAC regular season championship. They lost to Kent State, the Fighting Antonio Gates, in the MAC tournament championship game. They return Dante Maddox. Played 29 points, had 29 minutes, had 29 points, 29 minutes, average 11 points. He returns Ben Wright, 10 points, played 26 minutes last year. They returned 4 guys that basically averaged 10 points a game last year. They are 3-0. They have played the likes of Detroit Mercy, Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, one of the best names in all nicknames in all of the NCAA. Next to the Fighting Artichokes there, Ed, with Mark Bunker down at Western New Mexico. And then they beat Wright State 78-77. I believe Wright State was a tournament team last year. They have been known for their offense. This is quite, it's probably the same in Toledo, Ohio. Like, what the hell do we know about Albuquerque, New Mexico? And in Albuquerque, New Mexico, what the hell do we know about the University of Toledo Rockets? Their football team's 9-1, by the way, and they might be a New Year's Six team. Yeah, man. I think this is a big test for UNM. Probably those, casual Lobo fan, like, oh yeah, we should beat Toledo. This I think is a good test for them. If they were able to knock St. Mary's off, obviously that, I don't know if that win, Ed, I'll change the topic there. You mentioned that they have lost 2 games. They lost to Weber State last Saturday, and then San Diego State trounced them. They might not be that good. Aiden Mahaney hasn't looked that good. I think they just had UNM circled. What does that say about UNM's loss there? You asked that question. Simply put, it's not good. This is a good 3-game stretch for UNM. I can see them coming out of it 3-0. Toledo does, if I'm, as Lobo fan, if I'm Lobo fan, like Toledo scares me. I don't know what you guys know about Toledo, Rice, and Pepperdine. Pepperdine got blasted yesterday by UNLV. So Kevin Kruger's squad responded there because they had a bad first loss. But I throw the ball in your court if any of you guys have anything to say about this Vegas tournament and feast week here.
I think it's going to be good for them just to get out and play 3 back-to-back nights, and then really just being on the road, kind of developing that off-the-court chemistry. Not a whole lot of in-between time to practice or work on things, but I think they're just going to have to pick up. I think we'll probably find out a lot about where this team is mentally, what they're going to evolve into, which guys are going to buy into the system that Pitino's trying to lay out in front of them. And then again, roles are still being established too, right? Like, are they going to emphasize on getting the ball down low to Nelly a little bit more, kind of develop him more into the offense? Jamal Baker and Amzo, when are they going to come to life? Because I think leading up to this season, a lot of people were really high on all these transfers, but has it really kind of resulted in some on-court success? So I think we still have a lot to find out about this team. They're still kind of evolving within the offense and some of the roles. So I think as we peel back the layers of the onion, we're going to start to find out a little bit more about this team.
It's a great point, Erik. Life on the road is not the same, and the off-court chemistry is hanging around, right? And, developing those bonds, that's important. It really is. Sometimes it's overrated, but I think they still don't know each other well enough, and they're going to find out. I think this 3-game stretch is good. Now, you mentioned in practice, they can say, hey, let's get the ball to Nelly. We're going to run some sets and some action up high, pick and roll. It's good to say in practice, the game situations are much different. Whatever we do in practice, against us and air, it's, air, that's always good. I want to see it executed in the game. So that's going to be very interesting. I think they need these 3 wins. And the good thing against Texas A&I, they won. They did win the game. So keep stacking those wins, keep developing chemistry. And I think getting these guys that we mentioned involved in the game, Baker, Amzil, and get them shots and Nelly, get them some looks. Hopefully all those things happen in this tournament. I think it's an important 3-game tournament for New Mexico for those reasons alone. And Braden Applehands was out with an ankle injury on Thursday night, and we're not sure how much he's going to play, but he can shoot. So maybe he gets back in the swing of it in this tournament too, and gets some action in there, because when they can't shoot their shooting challenge, we know he can shoot. So I think that for those reasons, that tournament will be important to New Mexico.
I will be there. You can watch the game on Flow Hoops, or you can listen on the Lobo Radio Network. I don't know how you find Flow Hoops. That might be a question for Frank Mercogliano or Steve Kirkland.
Ask Scott Galletti. He knows. He works for Flow Hoops, man. He knows.
We'll reach out to Galletti. I'll give him. I'll give him a call. I love him.
Yeah, he knows.
Just with what we've liked to focus on other UNM athletics. The UNM volleyball team has clinched a spot in the Mountain West Volleyball Championship. Congratulations to them. The Lobo women are coming off quite a epic game of themselves. They actually defended Texas A&M Commerce, who had Jalen De La Cerda and somebody else on the team.
What are the head coach?
Yeah, the head coach. Yeah,
Coach King. Coach King.
Yeah. He's a former assistant under Mike Bradbury, right? They held off Texas A&M Commerce 75-74, and I'm very jealous of JJ Buck. The Lady Lobos, the women's basketball team, head to Cancun next week. They will play on Thanksgiving against Montana State, and then the next day they get Georgia Tech. I don't know anything about Montana State, but hey, you're getting an ACC team in Georgia Tech. So they are 4-0.
4-0.
Yeah, the UNM Mike Bradbury 4-0. So congratulations to them. And then football today, which has become a moot point. I was in Boise last week. It was very cool what Devin Dampier was able to do in that first quarter. I think he's going to be special, much like everybody else, hoping that he can stay. 2 games left, for not really for timely, sake, and being a good podcast and a good podcast host. UNM heads to Fresno State tonight, 8:30 on Fox Sports, and you can hear that on Lobo Radio Network. I thought it was very funny that I went to the Boise State game and Andy Avalos was fired the next day. Apparently a lot of behind the scene things at Boise State. That was a bucket list. It was very cool. And as I always say, even though I'm a New Mexican too, people here don't know what other colleges do. That town rallies around Boise State football and that university. I went and saw the Boise State play San Francisco men's basketball on Sunday, and they had their first 10,000 more than 10,000 in attendance for a game in November for the first time in program history. That's cool. We talked to Leon Rice. I love what they're doing up there. It's very cool. I'm going to get in trouble. Yeah. UNM, as much as I do love New Mexico, it was like living in central New Jersey. It's a lot of love, give and take, and the pros and cons. People here don't understand what it is like elsewhere to support a program. And I will say that probably till the day I die. The Lobo fan has no idea. Effing people show up for 10,000. Mississippi State and Arkansas have like 14,000 at a baseball game, and they sell at softball games. The half-assery at UNM the other night with UT Arlington. They didn't even announce the attendance. I don't think. I didn't see it. And the printer in the pit was messed up. But yeah, I don't know. You guys are going to get me going. The half-assery of fandom here. We don't live in that big of a city. It's not that hard to get in and out of, Cesar Chavez. And, that construction does suck trying to get going southbound on I-25, but no one will ever understand. Like it I don't know. It pisses me off. I think you guys know what I'm saying, but the fandom here and the support for UNM, it's the hypocrisy and the half-assery. Like, I'll use Lobo Gabe as an example. He cracks me up. On Twitter. He's kind of, other than being a Cowboy fan, he's kind of right on a lot of things with UNM. But very quickly, because we were reaching an hour, we didn't really do this with football, but Ed, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Lobo football. And we really, really, this is no joke. This is not on the record type stuff. I absolutely respect the living hell out of Danny Gonzalez. Yeah, the dog's barking while we start to talk about Lobo football. Ed, just your thoughts. I mean, they have suffered multiple. I got to bring it up here. Sorry for the terrible podcasting here. It's been double-digit losses galore for Danny Gonzalez and this Lobo team. The bright spot is Devin Dampier. 42-14 to Boise last week, 56-14 UNLV the week before that, the last home game. 34-24 to a 1-6 Nevada team. They beat Hawaii 42-21, which is this, a week-to-week league. 52-24, that terrible second half against San Jose State. 35-26, that's not a double-digit loss. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their 7 losses are all more than double digits. Ed, just your thoughts.
I think we were all, I know I was, when they beat Hawaii, and I really was looking forward to, hey, look in the schedule, maybe they can get to a bowl game, which Coach Gonzalez had guaranteed, and I was surprised that he did, but let's hope that they end up the season with two good wins. And I think you're right, Ryan. Devin Dampier looks like a solid QB for the future. That I am excited about, and hopefully we can keep him here. So hopefully better days are ahead for Lobo football. I'm going to be a fan no matter what until I leave this earth. I've been a fan since 1970s, you mentioned, so I'm sticking with the program.
Erik, very quickly, I know you got to get going.
No, I'm really high on Devin Dampier. I think he's super elusive back there. He just needs more reps. Those practice reps definitely don't equate to the game speed and actual game day being on the field. But he's executing at a high level. He throws the ball extremely well for being a freshman, but then his ability to run is something that Dylan Hopkins does not do. So that kind of gives them their whole offense a whole new dynamic. So I'm excited, man. I'm curious to see what kind of, I guess, play structure design goes. I know that they were splitting time. They were running that 2 quarterback system. I don't know where that's going to either kind of be more in Dampier's favor today versus Hopkins. But I mean, for the future of the program, I think it's important to get him a lot of looks early in kind of the rest of the season now, right? We're going into the fourth quarter of the year. See what he's got.
We're well there. 2 games left.
Yep.
All right. Hey, well, I'm going to be in Vegas for the Ball Dogs Classic. And again, beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. On behalf of Ed Nunez and Erik Malton, I'm Ryan Tamori. Thank you guys for listening to the Pit Press podcast and watching on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at the Pit Press NM. I'm debating what I'm going to do, what I take to Vegas. I will be writing previews and recaps. Man, we're trying to pump out as much as we can, but hey, I don't say this enough. For everybody that follows us on Twitter and reposts or retweets or comments and listens to us, whether you like us or not, I appreciate you listening. So good talking, you guys, and we'll do this again probably after the Ball Dogs Classic. And happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks.
Yeah, happy feast week.